Hello everybody, Razorblade Mango here, and this is a video about me playing bits of Far Cry Primal. Yeah, I know, this is late. I wasn't going to get this on release. I was either going to wait for it to go on sale or be available at Redbox, but Redbox won, so I had to wait about a month to get my hands on this. And I must say, that month was actually worth the wait because Far Cry Primal is really good. I am really enjoying it so far. I think I've put about maybe 4 hours into it, 4 or 5 hours in before I made this video. So what you're seeing is going to be from the early game stuff, like right around where you're kind of just learning to experiment with the beast taming stuff. And yeah, this is a really fun game. And I think the first of all, that comes from someone. This comes from someone who considers Far Cry to be maybe the last remaining Ubisoft franchise that interests me, I guess now, until they release something else. I really don't care about Assassin's Creed anymore, or all the Tom Clancy stuff, or whatever else they can come up with. A lot of it just doesn't interest me, but Far Cry is like the last one that does. I really liked Far Cry 2. Finally got around to playing it, and it's hard as fuck, but it's so much fun. Far Cry 3 was excellent. Far Cry 4 is probably my favorite one out of all of them. And I'm glad that they're not turning this into a like a hyped up annualized franchise like with Assassin's Creed, like they've been doing with that. They've kind of been taking their time with these releases, and I appreciate that because that makes them all the more special. And not that Far Cry Primal lives up to the standards of 3 or 4. I don't think it's as good as 3 or 4, but it is still a really fun game. Definitely like one of the best thing Ubisoft has released in probably since Far Cry 4. So props to them for that. This is also probably their most pure release, and by pure I mean it doesn't. I think they forgot to do a season pass, which is weird considering this is Ubisoft. There's no microtransactions in it. It doesn't have that typical Ubisoft formula where you go around and you climb radio towers or trees or whatever to unlock certain like radio beacons and shit to unlock areas and stuff and unlock icons. It doesn't have that, which is very nice because that was starting to get really tiresome after seeing it over and over again in Assassin's Creed and The Division, and even to an extent in Far Cry 4. But in Far Cry 4, I think I was enjoying it so much that I didn't mind it that time around. So yeah, this is probably the most non-Ubisoft game Ubisoft has released in like forever. I know that's weird to say, but it's true. It is. I'm enjoying it a lot because it doesn't feel like your average Ubisoft game. However, I think what's cool about Far Cry Primal, and also one of my caveats about it, depending on how much you like Far Cry and how much you like the formula, is that this game feels both familiar and fresh. And yes, admittedly, it shares a number of similar mechanics with Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4, and that I agree with. There are, in fact, I've heard like a substantial rumor that they copied the map design like whole cloth from Far Cry 4 over here, which honestly it doesn't bother me considering how much they've tweaked the map to this. It doesn't feel like a reskin of Far Cry 4. It feels like its own new unique game. So I think your enjoyment of this is going to depend on, do you like the Far Cry formula? That's been the case since 3. And if so, if you do like it, you're fine, because this is basically just more of the same, but they've tweaked it a little bit to keep up with the Stone Age aesthetic, and to add in some new elements to it, like the beast-taming stuff, and the hub building, which I'll get into in a bit. But I really like the beast-taming stuff. I kind of love it. I think it's my favorite new mechanic of any Ubisoft game since they introduced ship battles in Assassin's Creed 3. I think this is like the best thing, the best idea they've had in a long time. It is so much fun to tame these wild beasts and to lead them into battle. I think at one point you can even, I haven't gotten there yet, but you can tame a woolly mammoth and ride it and charge into battle with an owl and a wolf by your side. I mean, that sounds so badass. And the way they do it is really easy. All you have to do is just craft some meat to use as bait. Make sure the animal, you can actually tame it, because there are limitations of what you can and can't tame. And you'll unlock more later. You throw the piece of meat. You have the monster. I almost said the monster. The beast run up to it and start to eat it, and you slowly crawl behind it and hold square, or in other case, this is the PS4 version, hold square to tame it, and it's yours. And you can do that with a number of different beasts, and it unlocks, and you can actually use a menu, it's really easy, to switch and call a different animal. So if you run into a situation where you'd rather have, say, a cougar at your side, and you have a wolf, you're like, hey wolf, go away, and the wolf will go, and then the cougar will come. It's a really cool gameplay mechanic. It's just so much fun to play around with. I really enjoy using it. And that's cool, that this beast mechanic more than makes up for the lack of any guns or modern technology or explosions or whatever, because this feels unique to this very fictionalized version of the Stone Age, and it works, and it sells that environment really well. And speaking of environment, I think it was not really like a huge creative risk, like so many people have said, but I do think it was challenging for them to recreate the excitement of Far Cry in the Stone Age. So, and I think Ubisoft's done a pretty damn well job with it, because, like I said, I don't miss the guns, I don't miss the explosions. I really like the usage of the bow and arrow. I really like the spear. Not exactly as crazy about using the club, because I think the club, there's really no, it doesn't really have all that good hit detection on it, but it's all right. I mean, all you're really doing is just spamming R2 for the PS4. But it's fine, and it's very brutal. It definitely has that Far Cry brutality to it. It's a very violent, mature game. Lots of blood and gore, some nudity at points, which is, it's standard for Far Cry, I guess. They have to have boobs in there at some point. There's even a section where a guy pees on you, and you see it from the perspective of you, and you're getting pissed on. It's really fucking weird. And of course, like as always, and since Far Cry 3, there are points where you have to take drugs and go on a gigantic. It's a vision quest, is what they're doing with it now, and that's another thing that makes it feel like Far Cry, because the drug trips, instead of drug trips, it's spirit visions now, spirit quests, which are the replacement, and they make sense. I mean, I've heard some people complain about it, like, you didn't really need that in this game. And it's like, you didn't need it, but I know people enjoy the drug trip stuff from past games. So I think it's fine. I think it's a fine substitution. I also think it looks really nice, and I also like the sounds that they use, like the made up language that they come up with is really cool. They must have spent a lot of time constructing that language, because I don't know. I'll have to do more research on it, because I don't know if it's a made up language or if it's like it takes elements from dead languages and kind of patches them together to form something different. Whatever. They spent quite a bit of time making up a language for this, and to go to that effort to do it, I gotta tip my hat to them, because that is really cool, and that just adds another level of immersion to the setting. It's cool. And it would have been so easy for them just to add in just English voice acting, like that god awful 10,000 BC movie that Roland Emmerich did, where it was like the Stone Age, and you had a bunch of surfer bro white dudes running around and talking in like very Americanized accents. It was fucking horrible. And they could have done that, and it probably would have lessened the impact of the game, but they didn't. They went above and beyond the Call of Duty in that department. That is cool. That is really cool. That's what sells your environment. That is the effort I like to see in these kinds of games. Another thing is, a lot of it is very similar mechanics, very similar kind of mission structure. The one addition to it is building of the hub world, where you encounter a character very early on in the game that takes you to the setting that you're in now, and from there you set up like a little mini hub world. You have to go out and complete challenges and missions to have more of your people join your tribe and create, new huts, new areas. You can do missions for specific characters that will bring them over to your tribe. Like early on, there's a shaman that you meet in a cave, and once you complete one of these vision quests, he'll actually go over to your hub world and he'll stay there. And then once you've picked enough items and scavenged like wood and stuff like that, he'll actually tell you, he'll be like, hey, if you want me to stay here permanently, I'll need a hut. I mean, he doesn't say it like that, of course, but you build him a hut and he stays. And then the more stuff you do, the more resources you can unlock to upgrade your cave, your friend's cave, the shaman's cave. There's a huntress that you meet that needs her own tent, and so on and so forth. It works, and it provides a driving force behind the narrative, where it's like, hey, I need to do this in order to build up my hub world. I mean, that's something that's going to keep people going, and seeing the progression of your hub world just keep on building and building with more stuff and more people is cool. Like I've said with some of the other stuff, it definitely does a good job of keeping you occupied, and you have that goal in your head throughout the whole thing. Because even though it shares a very similar mission structure, where you're pretty much everybody's errand boy, you go out and you collect wood, you collect leaves, you hold triangle to snap your fingers back into place to heal. I mean, it is very much the Far Cry experience, but there are those things in it that do give it a different flavor, which is very interesting, especially for something. And unlike something like Assassin's Creed, where when I played Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I just felt fatigued. I just felt, I was just kind of weary of it, and I just kind of was like, it's alright. It's okay, I guess. It's just whatever. But I'm just tired of this formula. I'm just tired of doing this. And that's kind of the same thing I felt about The Division, where The Division, like right after I made the video for it, I haven't touched it since then, and I really don't have any desire to go back to it. But unlike that, I have a desire to keep playing Far Cry Primal, which is great, because I'm really enjoying it so far. And even though it has, like Assassin's Creed, it shares similar mechanics with the past series, they do enough new things here, and the setting is so refreshing that it keeps me going, and it doesn't put that thought in my head like, oh god, I have to do this again. I have to do the same thing that I did in Far Cry 4. It's more like, you know what, hey, I've done this in Far Cry 4, but I'm more than willing to do it again because of how cool these new toys are. So that's a pretty high recommendation from me. I mean, if you haven't guessed already, would I recommend Far Cry Primal? Yes, absolutely. In fact, I plan on, once I return this to Redbox, I'm definitely gonna keep playing this. I'm gonna buy it. It's maybe I'll wait for a sale, but I do want to keep playing because this is hands down the best thing I have played so far this year. It is a really enjoyable game. It's the most like interesting thing Ubisoft has released probably since the most just cool thing they've done since Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And this might actually, I mean, this so far I still like Far Cry 4 the most, but if it keeps getting better than this could go on to be my favorite Far Cry game. I can definitely see that because it is really interesting and really fun, and I'm having a damn good time with it. And it also makes it's like a nice. What's really cool about it as well is that it's kind of like, the opening song to this new flood of prehistoric games that we're going to be getting. Something like I know the two most prominent ones are Horizon Zero Dawn, which of course is not prehistoric, but it does have. It's prehistoric. It does have the prehistoric environment. And Wild, which is that PS4 exclusive from Michel Ancel, that looks really, really fantastic. And I'm like playing this, especially since it shares a similar beast-taming mechanic, makes me really, really want to play Wild. So, but thankfully I have Far Cry 4 to keep me busy until then. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I highly recommend it, and I cannot believe I'm saying that about an Ubisoft game again. It feels good, because a lot of what they've done recently has been really disappointing these past few years. I mean, besides Far Cry 4, really, they haven't really done a lot of good stuff these past few years. I mean, Unity and Syndicate, eh. I mean, Unity, ugh. Syndicate, eh. The Division, eh. Rainbow Six Siege, just constant disappointments, just constant mediocrity, and I think Far Cry Primal breaks that cycle, breaks it, and well, not breaks it, just shatters it, because this is a really good game, and I really, really like it. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. Let me know what you think of Far Cry Primal. If you agree, if you disagree, let me know. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to I probably will do a video of Fallout 4's Automatron DLC sometime, maybe tonight. I doubt tonight. Probably tomorrow or Thursday morning. I'll release it by then, just so I've had more time to play it. It's really good so far. Really enjoying it. And yes, it is story DLC, for people asking. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, guys.